So excited to be here with today's guest. You may know her from The Mighty Ducks or Wet Hot American Summer or Grey's Anatomy. The list truly goes on, but I am here with Marguerite Moreau. Hi, Marguerite.
Hi, Johnny. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Just
Thank you for
just a
coming.
Thursday.
It,
You're welcome.
it is. So I want to jump right in and not waste any time. The Mighty Ducks reboot is currently airing on Disney Plus, and in the episode that just aired last week, the OG crew has returned. What was it like stepping back into Connie's skates and being with your old team again?
I honestly feel like it was a dream come true. I mean, it's not every day that you get to go back to your first character, pretty much. My first movie role for sure, and revisit what was such a huge part of my life.
Yeah.
So the fact that other people loved this enough that there's a reboot and that they brought us back feels like while we are getting to be there for the kids and send them off, we're also kind of getting to revisit some of our own stuff.
Yeah,
Pretty
that's
magical.
yeah. I have no
Yeah.
interest in returning to my first job, but that was Burger
What
King.
was
It's a little bit different.
okay? Well, what was your highlight at working at Burger King?
Oh, working the drive-through was sometimes fun.
That is so good to hear because it seems like that would be really fun. I'm
The
always
headset
disappointed.
made me feel like Britney Spears. So,
They had a headset. My son just went back to school this week, and one of the women in her mask had a headset, and she had like a microphone on a purse, and it was just like on the outside of the purse was just that part of it, and she's just walking around being like, "Lines over here, second and third graders this way," and I was like, "Oh, where did you get this equipment? Like, how can I work it into my auditions
yeah, that's chic. I like that.
or for my next protest? Marching the streets, like, love it."
So, have you kept in contact with any of the cast since you were kids, or was this your first real time seeing and talking to them again?
Well, I think Averman and I stayed in contact because I dated his best friend from Northwestern for like 3 years, kind
Okay.
of like in my mid 20s. And so we knew each other at that time. He wrote an amazing play called Binky's Place that I helped out a lot on. And then, because he's a playwright.
Okay.
And I would say Colombe and I, like every once in a while, she plays Julie the cat. But kind of no, like anytime we'd see each other, if I ran into Keenan or Danny, if one of them was in town, it would immediately be like huge hugs. But
Yeah.
we were of different ages, from different areas and walks of life. We all went to do different things. And it
Right.
was like I knew that Colombe and Garrett went to St. Sarah Lawrence, but I went to Vassar. So we were like, every once in a while, I'd run into Eldon at an audition or Sundance. So this was like going to the few reunions we had right before this. And then really now we could sit down because we had that time in Canada where you had to quarantine like two
Mm.
weeks. And we got this like juicy time that, like Banks. So Adam Banks, Vinny, last time I ran into him, we were jogging on Sunset Boulevard. We both stopped and I was like, "You grew? Holy, you're a man now. Hello." I do not look as cute in my outfit as you look in yours. But like he works in, he works for the Soho House and or I don't know if he does that now, but he does all sorts of cool different things. So he would have only come out to shoot this show for 3 days and gone back. But because we had to quarantine and we were all together, we like watched the World Series every night. Justin Wu lives in I just mixed his name up with his character, but I'm charming like that. They took us up to Whistler. He took us all around. And so we got this time to be like, "Justin, you were like 9 and I was like 15.
Yeah.
Who are you?" Or like, "Garrett, who are you hanging out with?" "I was hanging out with Brandon and Josh." "Oh my God, what were you guys thinking?" "I was busy trying to kiss this person. I was busy
Yeah.
trying to do this." So we really got that time of being like, what were you doing? What were you thinking? Because some of us gelled in the first one, but then we had like, outgrown each other for the
Yeah.
second. And then everything would switch. So I know that's long-winded, but we did have this nice time together to laugh and sort of celebrate how special this was for us. And thank Steve Brill that he had brought us all back.
No, I love that. First of all, I love that you were long-winded. I love a long answer here, but I
Yeah,
also love that you had that experience. There were silver linings of quarantine, and I think this is one of them.
it really, really was. It was so special. We were all lost in the woods together.
Yeah. Yeah. So when the show was announced to be coming to Disney Plus, was bringing the old team something that was planned from step one, and they knew that this is what was going to happen? How early on in the process did you know you'd have to strap back in?
Well, I definitely heard from Steve Brill once it was announced, like, don't worry, don't worry. That was a sort of like thing because we all happened to be together, like right afterwards. And so I knew that much.
Okay.
And then I knew during all of casting of Ducks and stuff that we were not part of the main story. So I was sort of like, nah, well, probably, I don't know. So then they called us all in August and we're like, it's a pandemic. Who could come do all this? Who could afford it? Like, what's happening? And then, so I flew up there not knowing anything. I thought maybe I'd have a line in this big scene, and who knew? And so it was actually a little bit more integral to Gordon's storyline, and that makes it really nice because he's always gets himself in these grumpy moments.
He does.
See, when we were kids, we thought, oh, you just have a grumpy moment and then you grow out of it and you're an adult and you're happy.
Mm-hmm.
Now we know that.
Now it's kind of flipped.
Yeah, totally.
So we talked about what it was like being with the old team, but in the show, you also have all these new kids with you. What is that like to see them kind of in these roles that all of you had?
I think it's like, how hard are you working? How can you do your edges? Let's see. You've been here. Come on. Like, part of me really wants to like see them skate.
Yeah.
Right? Because I remember what we went through, and the other part of me is just terribly excited for them. Like, it's sort of like, well, weren't we like so much older than you? No, we weren't. So I was busy going, girls, come here. You got to stay friends with everybody. Like, even if you don't get along right now because you're different in personality, like, you guys are going to be connected in your life for a very long time.
Absolutely.
There's a good chance of that. So I think it was sort of, I got a little mommy, a little bit like, if anybody's kissing anybody, just stay friends. Don't be doing anything to be enemies. Stay cool.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's really special now that there's no beef, there's nothing that happened, but we were together for basically all of high school.
Right.
And then, of course, when it exploded a little bit with the team and stuff, it became like this bigger thing. And then we didn't know how many people liked it through the course of their lives. So I don't know. I just want to protect the kids. And then they're all so funny in the show. Watching it, I'm like, oh, you magical things. Mighty Ducks is so lucky to have you.
Yeah.
Like passing the torch.
Yeah, absolutely. And you touched on a little, why do you think this story and this team is so beloved? 3 movies and then a TV show 29 years later is pretty huge.
Well, we're in that time, right? We're in
Yeah.
that time where reboots can happen, which is nice. I didn't know about having even a sequel when I first booked it. I think you had to sign a 3-picture deal at Disney when you booked it, and I was like, because we're going to be a sequel, and my agent was like, oh, no, it's because Macaulay Culkin made this movie called Home Alone as a one-off, and then they wanted to make a sequel, and he had to be paid $3 million.
Oh,
So
wow.
now all kids are signed to a 3-picture deal, and we were like, oh, okay. I mean, like, I didn't care, like, pay me
Yeah.
or not. I was 13 years old. So to speak of like even knowing that there was a sequel to now this, I just know the movies that I love from my childhood that I know all the words to and would love to see reboots or not even a reboot, like when they do a new one.
Mm-hmm.
Or I feel like, how dare you do flip a new one? That better be good, Point Break or Annie.
Right.
Who has Annie? Who is Mrs. Hannigan? Oh, Cameron Diaz. What is she going to do? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You feel very possessive of the things that kind of hold your hand through life.
Absolutely.
And I guess this one was that kind that people got behind. And at the time, people were like, it's just a Bad News Bears. I'm like, we're not doing drugs and having sex. We're little kids.
And it was such a part of my childhood as well. So I feel like I'm the people that you're talking about being protective of it, because there are some, we don't have to name them, there are some reboots that aren't as good as the original or aren't as good as the other reboots coming out. And it kind of disappoints you. it
Yeah.
doesn't ruin the original by any means because you still have that, but to continue the story, I think something important should be said. There should be a reason behind the reboot besides money. And I think with this story, there really is. It has so much heart. And it's
Yeah, I
funny, like you said.
yeah, it has that good mix of the heart with the silly, like the
Yeah.
knuckle puck or the I mean, that kid with the hair who can't skate. I just and Sway, who has this ponytail in the hallway, I'm just like, oh, that ponytail should have its own Instagram page. It flipped. She's got something to say in class and on the ice.
Yes.
I don't know why I was attracted. Like this random things get you. But I would want to ask you, why do you think it resonated with you? I know for me, it was like just a part of like this amazing thing that happened to me in my life. Like, you know, I just started acting and then I got to go in this amazing thing that wasn't so big that I Lindsay Lohan'd out.
Right.
Bless her soul. She had a lot put on her. I also got to go to prom and high school and college and all of that. So I kind of
Right.
got both. So to me, it's a little different to say, why do you think it has such a lasting impact? I'm like, because it's fucking awesome. I'm so biased. What do you think?
For me, I think my story is a little bit different than why it spoke to people as a whole. For me, I was a little gay boy that didn't know what that was quite yet. So I was always attracted to stories like this and Little Giant, stories where a strong girl was put in with these other boys and like showed that she's just one of them and shows that she can stand out and be just as great as them. So because there wasn't gay representation for little boys back then, I feel like strong girls were the closest I had. So thank you for that.
You're most welcome. I mean, that's awesome. And I think that's what I'm finding. I'm glad I asked you that because what I get as messages, you know, on Instagram or Cameo or whatnot is they all seem to have very specific. It starts with I love those movies, but they all have specific reasons why. And a lot of women have said, you know, that was just I was Connie every year for Halloween
Yeah.
or speaking to that kind of thing. So representation, man. We are in it now. Isn't it great?
It is. It is.
Yeah.
And that was going to be my next question anyway. Did you feel in the original movie, did you know like how important your role was?
No. No, I just thought it was awesome. Like when I went to, I mean, I was so singular minded as a
Yeah.
14-year-old and also slightly self conscious, like just getting into that, like, that I didn't know when I arrived to shoot the movie that I was in the whole thing because they don't have enough scenes to audition a girl in this movie just so that they have their own scene. So I think I auditioned with like Carps, all of his like being the leader of the
Yeah.
kids or whatnot. So I didn't know then, but what I can see now with how many girls are on the team and how it's more normalized
Yes.
is so cool. It's so cool that now women can compete in the Olympics in hockey.
Yeah.
I just was glad that I got to be on a team that wasn't necessarily like, I didn't feel like Connie was the token
Right.
girl. So that's my favorite part of it,
Yeah.
that she's just one of the team.
Of course. And now from a filming perspective, that was the movie perspective. Now from filming, what was it like to be the only girl in that first movie, filming with all boys?
Oh, so distracting. I was always like a little, you know, having crushes on everyone kind of kid in school. I think in kindergarten, the award I got was like cutest couple with another boy, with a boy. So I definitely was like, I was the oldest and I am outgoing and flirty. So I had a ball, but to the detriment of the filming sometimes. I definitely was like, what are we doing? Wait, what did you just say? You know, I think that I was a bit distracted and it was super fun. And then the boys got taller and I stayed the same size. And I just was not as good at hockey anymore because they would play in the off season and I would just get decked. And I'm like, I'm gonna go read my book. So, but the first movie was so fun. It was just like if you could imagine like a kid's carnival where everything was free and you could have all the treats you wanted and go on all the rides as many times as you wanted. And it was at night and the parents weren't around, but
Yeah.
everything was safe. That's what it felt like making the Mighty Ducks.
So besides like the high intensity Marguerite stands, just a casual fan, when they recognize you on the street, what role do they cling to the most? Is it Connie?
It's either Connie or Katie from
Kate.
Wet Hot American
Yeah.
Summer, but a lot Connie for sure.
So that leads us into the Wet Hot American Summer section of this interview. Besides Connie, you recently got to revisit Katie as well in Wet Hot American. So what is it like going back to these characters that you haven't played in so long? Do you have to like rewatch before and say like, how is Katie? How did I play her?
I thought that, but then I went to the wardrobe fitting and I put on a pair of, I was like, what is she going to be? You know, I was probably even before I got the scripts or anything. And I put on a pair of shorts and a pair of clogs, which I think she wears in the first move in the movie. And I immediately was like, oh, I'm done. Or I thought like, okay, I put the clogs on and I come on to set the first day with this idea I have about how she's going to be on the first day of camp versus the last day of camp. But the second I sit in with all the guys, I'm like, I completely revert to what it was. And so it's almost like, it's just like in there, like riding a bike already,
Yeah.
which is like that with ducks too. I sat down on the bench with my stick in my hand and I've got my gloves and I'm leaning on my breezers and I'm like, all right, oh wait, I'm playing a full grown adult with children. I'm not playing Connie at the age of 12. And it was very hard to differentiate that. With Wet Hot, it was easy because you're literally playing the same summer, even
Right.
though you were however many years older.
The cast of Wet Hot American Summer is made up of so many comedic all-stars. I can't even imagine what a day of filming was like. So what are some of your favorite memories from set that you can share?
Yeah. I think that because I'm not a comedian in the sense of doing stand-up or watching them, so each cabin that we used was like the makeup cabin and the wardrobe cabin. So in the morning before shooting, you'd go to makeup in the makeup cabin, and somebody would have gone to town to Walmart and gotten the which is like the only store for miles, and gotten the National Enquirer, and they would. It looks like I've mauled myself. I'm a tiger. So in Wet Hot, all the stand-ups would devour the National Enquirer for info, and then develop bits. And I didn't at first. I was like, oh, why is Janine Garofalo reading the National Enquirer? Like, I'd never really met anybody our age that reads it.
Yeah.
And at home. Not just like in the checkout stand. But then it would pass, or someone would drop it in a corner and someone else would come in and grab it. It wasn't even like, oh, it was like possessive. People wanted it. And so they scoured it for material. And then late at night, after we'd stopped shooting, we'd go to the infirmary, because that was the only place where there were private rooms. So the cast was all in the infirmary. And we would sit in the like office area, and they would do their bits for each other. And that was just like me sitting back with my camera being like, this is amazing. Because there was like a real hunger. They had to do it. There was like just no choice. It was something I hadn't been exposed to. So getting to see like these people that, I mean, I followed Amy Poehler around. I was like, she's the funniest woman in America. She has to be on SNL. And I was like, Bradley Cooper is so dreamy, and he carries around this book of Eliza Kazan. And he's not carrying it around like dorky, like, look at what I'm doing. I would find him around the corner on a porch, like just reading it.
Wow.
And then Elizabeth Banks, I just will not forget the day that I sat staring at her going, I don't understand why she's not like the most famous person. She is so gorgeous and talented. And I went and I Googled her and saw that she'd been in one episode of Sex and the City, and that was it. And I was like, there's something wrong with America. And then this is what happened. I'm glad to know that like America got it. These are wonderful contributors to our pop culture,
Right.
you know? And you could feel that on set.
Yeah. And you might be a fortune teller. you might have a side gig because
That's
you know, you know.
I would love to tell my friends that because they're always like, so we got this psychic. Do you want to add in? We're going to get it for her. And I was like, no. Like, but we thought we were going to do some tarot for like the baby shower. And I'm always like, if you want, I know. So if I came in and said, I'm doing fortunes now,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think they can handle it. They might leave me as friends. It came to me through Donny.
Yeah. You went back to Katie, you went back to Connie. Are there any other characters you've played that you would love to revisit?
I feel like I'm unfinished on Grey's Anatomy for sure
Yeah.
because she had something going with Kevin, the kid's character, but he was ending things with Sandra Oh.
Right.
And as a fan of the show, when they were like, what do you think happens? I was like, what? They have to get back together. Like, I can't take out Christina Yang.
Right.
Like, which was very dumb professionally. But I feel like she got the short end of the stick, and now he has kids with Katerina Scorsoni's character. And I'm like, I thought you don't want kids.
Yeah,
I should
so
come
she
back,
should
like,
definitely come
the
back. Yes. Yeah.
And Shameless as well. I felt like that was such a fun character. And she had this big thing happen to her, and she owned the corner store. So did she leave? What happened? Like, nobody, the corner store never closes. Yeah.
I also would like you to revisit Queen of the Damned if you're taking notes. I would love that.
I mean, I would like to see what it's like to really be a vampire. I did just get like one day in the teeth, and that was it, you know? Me and Stuart, like, what happened to us?
I don't know. The people will never know. Well, we will, because we're gonna get it. I'm manifesting this.
I feel like they would go on to do some real, like, they would be from the other side, all this work that we're doing for criminal justice and protest and reform. I could see the two of them just like leading the charge, but like maybe not being that much of a sexual couple, but maybe being like more like brother and sister.
Yeah.
Because I feel like he was more like of an androgynous Lestat, which Lestat is, not so much androgynous, but bisexual or very fluid. And Jessie feels very much in the straight lane.
Yeah.
So I feel like while she's very attracted to him, she would go, oh, it's like kissing my brother.
So now that I found a way to talk about Queen of the Damned, let's just
Come in.
more so genre based, but you've done horror, you've done thriller, romance, comedies, drama, you've done it all. What is your favorite genre to perform?
I think I like comedy that comes out of pathos. So like Shameless.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's really, I can be very literal. So it's very grounded in something, and then it's very heightened. So people's behavior is very funny.
That makes sense.
Because their need is so great.
Yeah.
Right? So I think
get
that's
that.
my favorite.
Yeah.
Or anything relationship based. When I was doing my roles in like high school and my 20s, I loved falling in love. Loved it. And it was obviously, who doesn't?
Right.
And so I gravitated towards those, but also anything that has to do with how to connect with people. And like where the struggle is really about creating connections is the most attractive to me. I think it's why I love this work and why I love movies in general, is it taught me how to be a person. Like when I talk to a person, I don't make a friend like that. Like this is me in the movie house, like when I was 10, learning, oh, there's other ways to live. There's other ways to communicate. So I think that's always my favorite. Anything interpersonal that goes deep is yummy.
I love that. Okay, so Marguerite, that brings our time together to an end. But before you go, this is a pop culture podcast. So I always ask my guests, what is your favorite pop culture moment of your lifetime?
I mean, it has to be when the Mighty Ducks was turned into a national hockey franchise in my own backyard, because I lived in Southern California. And I have been in the building from before there were seats in it to playing on the ice before there were professional players, all the way up to 25 years down the road and skating again. It just feels to be part of something that's bigger.
Yeah.
And kind of, and just so fun, you know, pop culture is fun. Pop music is fun. To
It
be
is.
part of it in a small way is so cool.
Yeah, it truly is iconic. The movie created a sports team. Not, I don't think any other movie can say that.
Nope. So there you go. I think that's it. Do you feel like I should have a different answer?
No, that's a great answer.
Okay, because if I miss something, it must be pointed out.
No, and that's a personal one. So I really love that. Everybody just says Britney all the time.
I mean, can I tell you my side Britney story?
Of course. Oh, of course.
I have two side Britney stories.
Hit
One
me
is
with both of them.
I will. Okay, first, Wet Hot American Summer. She was even though she's more my age group than everybody on the show, because everyone was 10 years older and Elvis Costello and the Smiths, for some reason, I had a huge Britney in my infirmary room poster.
Oh.
And then we had these huge magnet stickers that we put all over the camera. So Britney was at camp with us the whole time. And I was like, how did I do that? I just she just got in there with these very cool kids. And they were like, yeah, Britney. I was like, yes, it's not just The Cure, who I love. And then the other thing was that I'm not very fancy and don't go to a lot of like premieres and stuff, but my brother made a rare stop in in town with his friend Eric, and they said, is anything cool happening? And like I was like, I don't know, the Crossroads premiere is tonight, maybe I could just call and see if I get tickets. Like, I've never done this before.
Yeah.
And so I did, and they didn't know that they were like, and they went and smoked a huge bowl. They were stoned out of their minds. I brought them to the premiere and made them walk the carpet with me. They are both standing there. I so wish I could find a picture of them with me being like, no, you have to get me with these two. And like, they're so like, what is going on? I'm like, Britney's right there in her full jean with the hat,
my God.
with Justin and I definitely made eye contact. And I was like, I don't know what to do with that eye contact, but that is very cool. I just love the girl and hope that whatever shakes out, that she finds her peace, because she deserves it.
I'm with you 100%. And I'm going to Google you at the Crossroads premiere as soon as I'm out of this interview to see if I can find your brother.
I'm there, but if you find my brother, extra points. I'll be sending a gift bag. I would love to give that to him. He still to this day is like, that was the raddest thing I ever did.
Well, this has been so much fun. Thank you, Marguerite.
It's been a pleasure. Nice to talk to you.
Nice to talk to you. And anyone listening, be sure, if you did not already, go watch the most recent episode of Mighty Ducks on Disney+.
Yeah, get your quack on.